Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukutali.
And good evening and a very warm welcome to Newsline Prime. We're broadcasting live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo in our temporary surroundings, awaiting that brand new thing that's happening somewhere else. This evening on Newsline Prime we have a absolutely wonderful guest and with a very important story to tell and to share with you, the public. And she's right here in the studio. It's Mrs. Marini de Livera, the former chairperson of the National Child Protection Agency, NCPA, until she was removed way short of her contract. But she's right here in the studio with her own story. She's also the winner of a prestigious award which she received from somebody who is in the news anyway, the Secretary of State of the United States, Mike Pompeo. Anyway, she's right here. Good evening to you, Marini.
Good evening, Faraz.
And thank you very much for being on our program.
My pleasure.
We're delighted to have you. Now then, I just wanted to ask you, you won an award. Can you tell me what that award was?
It was the International Woman of Courage Award 2019, given by the US Secretary of State for women who have had considerable courage and bravery and promoted human rights and social progress and worked for marginalized people in their communities.
I see. So did you get that award whilst you was a chairperson of the NCPA?
No, it was some months after I went out of NCPA.
You went out, you didn't go out voluntarily? You
No,
sort of...
I had a huge vision for NCPA.
Right.
It came as a surprise.
Right. And so you were removed from your position?
Someone else was appointed instead of me.
But technically you were not removed. You didn't get a letter?
I didn't get a letter. I was not informed.
Yes, got a text
I was
message.
out at... I got a text message from one of my subordinates.
I see.
Yes.
Why do you think why do you think somebody else is appointed in your place?
Because the National Child Protection Authority Act is a very powerful act.
Right.
And under Section 14 it has enormous functions.
Right.
And some of the functions include investigation of perpetrators of child abuse,
right,
and also monitoring court cases.
Right.
There was a huge backlog of court cases. Not
right,
only did I speed up investigations,
right,
I also personally appeared in court and
right,
I tried to clear up court cases.
You personally appeared because?
Because there were supposed to be 7 lawyers working there,
right,
and there was only one other lawyer who was willing to go to court, and myself. And I didn't want to warm my chair as the chairperson, so right, when children out there are crying for help, yeah, and the parents are so depressed when the child has to testify over and over again in court, so I thought might as well go to court, speak to the judge, find out what is clogging the system, and try to remove the obstacles and finish the case and see that the perpetrator gets justice.
You ought to have been a very popular person.
Popular among the communities and the people.
Whom you were trying to help.
Yes.
But what about officialdom?
There was a great deal of red tape, and I just could not work freely in the way they had envisaged when they passed the act, because I looked at the Hansard and it said that this entity has to operate as an independent organization directly under the president, and at that time it was Madam Chandrika Bandaranaike, right, Kumaratunga. So it was to be directly under the president and yeah, not under any government department or ministry.
I see.
Yeah.
And the powers bestowed upon the NCPA was, as you say, wide? Very wide. Was very wide.
Very wide.
You had your own police?
We had our own police force, we yeah, had our own psychosocial unit, we had our own video evidence recording unit,
okay,
yes, media unit.
Which is quite a big organization.
Big organization, and with so many field officers in every divisional secretariat and district secretariat.
And funded by the central government?
Funded by the central government,
right,
yes.
So, when did the trouble start?
As soon as I started working.
So, oh, I see.
Go
So as soon as you started working.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. And it took them about 6 months to
Yes.
prepare to.
Yes, because it was a presidential appointment, and
Right.
so the president had to decide
Right.
to
Okay.
discontinue me.
I see. But technically you were not discontinued because you didn't
No.
actually receive a letter.
No, someone else was appointed instead.
I see. Well, I suppose that's unique. But then what happened? Now, how did you win this award then?
Then I was at a rural school in Niagama
Yeah.
when one of my subordinates sent me a text message, oh, they have appointed someone else instead of you.
Right.
So I had to give a speech as the chairperson. As soon as I got the text message, they said now the chairperson of the National Child Protection Authority will speak at the opening of a library in an 80-year-old school that had not had a library. So I spoke to a packed audience about the importance of reading. Not only must you read, you must write as well. And then when I finished it, they asked me to stay for lunch. Instead, I returned my official vehicle and picked up a few law books that I had on my desk, and I came home. I was upset only for about an hour or two. Then I thought, well, I have the passion, I have the energy, I have the drive, the people like me. Why cannot I do what I did from inside NCPA from outside as a civil society activist?
Right.
And that's how I started Sisters at Law and the law chambers of MARINI, LIVERA, a hybrid organization,
Right.
both under the same roof.
I see. And so you work hand in hand with your Sisters at Law organization.
Yes.
And it's purely to help children who are being abused?
Yes. I appear pro bono for women and children who are of indigent circumstances, and I fund it with my the money that I get paid as a lawyer, where I work the chambers of MARINI, LIVERA. Yes.
I see. And I have so many questions for you. How bad is the problem with children? Is Sri Lankan
It's
children?
really bad. Children are not recognized as right holders, and
But why? Who would want to abuse children? Why? Are you talking about physical abuse here?
physical, psychological, cultural violence,
I see.
every manifestation of violence is there, and
And
I'm
is
very
that-
worried.
Yes.
Because a damaged child means a horrible adult, an antisocial adult. You can say off with her head and off with his head, like the Queen of Hearts in Alice in Wonderland. But then it's too late once the child is an adult. Unless the child has a very happy childhood, that child becomes not only a financial burden on society, but also becomes a menace to others of our society.
An underperforming member of society.
Underperforming, and a person who is a nuisance to others, or in the worst case could be even a terrorist. Terrorists are not born, they are made.
They're made.
They are made by a system that is not working, a system that is dysfunctional.
And how easy is it for women or children to have access to legal aid, to have legal, if they're poor, then what?
I'm sorry to say this, but law is only for the rich and for the elite. There's no pro bono culture of lawyering in Sri Lanka. Even I have a problem in retaining volunteers in my organization, because so many pass out as lawyers every year, but they are very, very mercenary. The first thing they ask me is, Madam, we like to work with you, but how much are you going to pay me? I know money is necessary. It's important to earn something. But they don't have a sense of duty. When I was questioned in the US, why are you doing this? I said, we always speak of human rights, but we never speak of duty. Mahatma Gandhi said, I learned from my wise but illiterate mother that all rights to be deserved and preserved came from duty. Well done. So we should have a sense of duty and to give back to society something. And there is no volunteerism in Sri Lanka that you get in other countries. Students take a gap year to volunteer, people who retire volunteer, I've heard people saying, oh, I'm waiting till I retire to volunteer in a school, to volunteer in a social service organization. You don't get that sort of thing here.
You don't get that culture?
That culture of altruism in Sri Lanka.
But why do you think that is?
Because we are not taught in school.
So it's not, it's not inculcated into the system?
Into the system. When we are children, we should be given projects. That's how I became like this, because my father was a human rights lawyer. And he used to say always, you have to give back to society something. And he used to quote from Kennedy and say, don't ask what the country is going to do for you. You have a duty to do something for the community, for the people in your country. And
Kennedy was an amazing fellow. Well, good. But what are the challenges you face in everyday life, in each day that you try and help children and their mums?
Well, I'm a square peg in a round hole. So I'm a weird sort of person who is different to other people.
Right.
So everyone who
That's
meets
how
me
the legal system
it's very patriarchal.
You.
It's very patriarchal and it's very colonial. When you say lawyer, you imagine a black man in a black suit who goes to court.
You're a man in a black suit. And, yeah.
Yes, and a very mercenary person. Mm. You don't look at it holistically. Mm. Just going to court and coming out has been done away with, even by our colonial masters. Now the trend is alternative dispute resolution, where you negotiate settlements out of court, and where you finish things off quickly without spending years and years in a courthouse. But still, we place a lot of emphasis in court procedures. So I do it the other way around. It's only as a last resort that I go to court. I try to settle things by speaking to people. Are
children being abused by their own parents here?
Yes, of course. On a daily basis, I get cases where they're abused by their own parents. And the authorities don't recognize that. They think if they are parents, even if the children are abused, you have to send them back to the parents. It's ludicrous, because we are still in the dark ages.
In case you want to get in touch with Sisters at Law, the Sisters at Law organization, the number is up on your screen. It's generally answered during working hours. So do make a note of it. And if you have any questions that you want to send us on the program, like we do on the Newsline morning slot, you can send us an SMS on 0772 300 305. It'll come straight through to us here in the studio. 0772 300 305. Now then, Mrs. De Oliveira, what are the challenges do you face? Do the court system, does the police, do they recognize that the abuse of children is a serious violation of the law?
There are some very good judges. We had a training program for judges, and there are some excellent exemplary judges who are very committed to the promotion and protection of child rights. But I'm sorry to say that the law enforcement authorities are not very cooperative. Sometimes they don't even take down the complaint. And when I, as a lawyer, speak to them, it's the same story. It's no different to that of the victim. They say, oh, it's just a... No.
Who do you get calls from? Do you get calls from the good parent, or do you get calls directly from children?
I get calls from children as well as a good parent.
So what must move a child to bring that child to a position where he or she is dialing a number to speak to a stranger to save them from their predicament or their pain?
Yeah, first the child must be aware of his or her rights, and then the child should know that the child can reach out to a person who can help them out.
What sort of ages do you get? What's the spectrum? What kind of age?
From 5 upwards. Even a 5-year-old could tell an older child or a trusted person that he or she is facing problems. Again, there is no culture in Sri Lanka for children to speak out and communicate. They have it all bottled up inside. And in this mobile age, the parents are always using their mobile phones when they come home. So they have no time for children to discuss what happened during the day. So it's not discussed. They have it bottled up. And it's let out in the raw.
And then it finally impacts later on.
Later on, much later. And then it's too late.
And what would you I know that when you left the organization, or you were forced to leave the organization, and 2 hours later you decided, look, I'm going to do this on my own.
Yes.
How have you been sustained? Do you have a wide support base?
No, I have a few friends who assist me.
Who are committed to your cause?
Yes, who are committed to my cause. Right. Apart from that, I find funding very difficult, very difficult to fund. Because in other countries, the civil society organizations are funded by the government if they can't handle it, if it's beyond them. Because they have signed these human rights treaties to create an atmosphere, a culture of human rights. They fund the civil society organizations to carry out the work relating social justice and the kind of work that I do. But here we do not get that kind of support.
And do you have like a safe house for children?
Yes. Yes, we have.
It's operated by you?
Yes.
Right.
Down south we have, in a secret location.
The reason I'm asking you is because after you because somebody else was appointed instead of you, they did close down.
They closed down the emergency shelter and sent the children back to the perpetrators. There was a child who was terrified of orphanages, was sent back to the orphanage. The child had given video evidence saying that how she was assaulted in the orphanage and how she was treated. And when the mother came out of prison, she could not find the child. The authority.
So the mom was in prison?
Mom was in prison. Mom was a trafficked woman from the east, and she was in prison, and the child was in an emergency shelter. And when she was released from prison, the child was no longer in the shelter, and she didn't know where the child was. So I cleared the mother's cases, and I found the child for her, and now they are living happily as a family together in their own home.
And obviously these sort of events and these sort of acts and your delivery of this very essential service to this very challenged area of our population is what led you to get that award.
Yes.
What difference has that award made to you?
So many people have come forward to help me, right. Not only with funding, but they have started offering their services to me, because right. They didn't know that I was doing this kind of work. So it was very helpful to get recognition to the work that I was doing from a foreign country, and from a country such as the United States of America. And I was there for 3 weeks, and I was given training in similar organizations on the mechanisms that they have put into place to deal with child abuse. So that was very enlightening.
Is there any provision in Sri Lanka's laws to for you to obtain any sort of state funding? Is there any possibility?
Yes, if it's a matter of national policy. If a ministry decides to collaborate with the civil society organization.
What about a ministry that the child care comes under?
Yes. So if they decide, they can work with civil society.
So it's a question of if there's a will, there will be a way.
And also the president has a fund for children.
Do you attract any funding from the president's fund?
No, not yet.
Have you asked?
No.
Will you be asking?
Yes. If I'm desperate and if there's a huge need, I will have to ask, because right. I cannot stop the work that I'm doing.
Right.
If I don't do it, who else will do it?
Okay. Now then, when these children come to you, surely they must be frightened, scared.
Yes.
They must be, for want of another word, they be traumatized.
Yes.
So what about when you have to record their statement? Have you, like the in NCPA? Have you got like a media unit
No.
to record them?
No, I don't have that kind of facility because I started only in August last year.
Okay.
Yes.
And is your books full?
Yes.
The books are full. So
Yeah.
the problem is immense then.
Yes, it is.
And do you have any area of the country that you operate in, or
No,
is it
all
countrywide?
Countrywide. Countrywide.
And how does the government view you? How does the government view your activities?
I haven't
haven't-
had any
they
feedback.
haven't-
They haven't recognized my new entity.
Right.
So I don't know because
So you're
nine other women won this award with me. 10 outstanding women were selected from all over the world, and when they went back to their countries, they got tremendous support from their governments, and they were well received. But so far, I haven't had any acknowledgement of this award.
Why do you think? Do you think that our politicians are rather blasé about this
Yes,
whole thing?
they're very insensitive. I'm sorry to say this.
It's just not. It's not a vote winner, is it?
No, it's not. Children don't have. They're under 18, so they don't have votes. So why bother about them? Only on Children's Day you wax eloquent and you say make wonderful speeches, empty rhetoric. But other 364 days they have to fend for themselves.
And are you trying to set up a network of
Yes.
of lawyers and so
The
on?
lawyers, doctors, so many doctors have come forward.
Right.
Pediatric surgeons, pediatricians, so many sociologists, psychologists who volunteer with me.
When you see that on the screen in the background, we have Secretary of State and the First Lady, Mrs. Trump, on there. When you met them, did they treat you as this is just another 5 minutes of something and then say, oh, thank you very much, and then carry on?
No.
Or how was that experience?
Before we went into that room to receive the award, we had the opportunity of meeting them, and they were very keen to find out about my work and how it impacts on the community. And with each awardee, they had a few minutes, and they were really taken up and very impressed.
What about the follow-up? Have they sort of...
Yes. They have promised to work with us, and the State Department wanted to know in which areas I needed help, and there is going to be some follow-up activities based on that. And they promised to send student volunteers from US universities to support me because I'm working with a skeletal staff and very few volunteers. So lots of developments from that area.
What would you like to see changed at the NCPA?
I want this marvelous, amazing, incredible piece of legislation implemented in the way that it was envisaged in 1998 when it saw the light of day in Parliament. And the Hansard, I just can't stop reading the Hansard reports. It says without an interference, the NCPA will be able to carry out its activities and look after children of this country.
Who actually put that cabinet paper through in 1996?
I think it was Madam Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumar.
Right.
And the founder chairperson was a very dynamic person, Professor Harendra. Yeah.
I see. And have you had the opportunity to speak with the person who initiated it, President Kumaratunga?
Not the president, but with Professor Harendra I have spoken.
Right. Is he still around?
Yes.
And what does he feel about what's happened to his vision?
He feels very sad.
But there must be loads of children who will be very saddened as well.
Yes.
So is yours the only, as far as you know, is yours the only sort of independent organization that is that's come forward to help these children?
As far as I can see, it is. Where we do litigation, pro bono lawyering, counseling, all under one roof. I think it is the only one.
And is it a busy place, your office, your
It's not
chambers?
busy because it's very confidential. So I don't give appointments like that. So as a result, it's very stressful because I have to, space them out so that one does not see the other. And again, it's away from the main road, and it's in a very secret location.
I see. It's not the kind of place that the media wants to go snooping around in.
No. Because when there is no space to house a child in a shelter, sometimes I even keep the children overnight there with their parents when they want to stay away from the perpetrator and have their own space to decide what they want to do.
And Madam, what can we as a network do? What can we do?
Help me to build up a strong network who will support me, and also help me to train human rights defenders, because in the USA they asked each one of us, what do you want to do? I said, I want little Marinis to come up and take my place someday. Right. Because I was invited to the John F. Kennedy Center in Harvard, at Harvard University, and when I presented, I did a presentation in 2009 on what it is to be a woman in a conflict-ridden country. One of the professors said, Marini, can we clone you? So that's what I want. Other people doing the same thing that I do in a selfless, altruistic manner, without thinking of yourself and being mercenary.
I'm going to ask you one personal question.
Yes.
Your family, your children, your husband, source of strength, or do they think that you're
a tower of strength?
Or they don't think you're potty or something like that?
No.
Far from it.
Yes, I achieved all this due to my husband. He has been a tower of strength, and I always discuss what I do, the cases, the investigations with him. And he was the force behind me at NCPA, where I went all out and did all the investigations and the court cases. He has been always supporting me, my biggest critic and biggest fan.
Do you get threats from?
Yes. Even now, when I hear a landline ring, I guess I get gooseflesh, because at NCPA I was constantly getting threats, because the perpetrators, most of them had political connections, and I was asked 90% of the cases that I was investigating, I was asked to drop them.
And you?
I didn't.
You didn't?
And I told the callers that I wouldn't do it.
I'm tempted to say good for you. Good for you. But how can you spread? How can this fight be to lessen the incidences of crime against children? How do you intend to do that? How do you get it down, the figures?
You have to go to the communities and work with the leaders, with the religious leaders, with the teachers, with the activists, with the community based organizations, and create awareness. Make the children empowered, make them aware of their rights, and tell them, if somebody crosses the boundary, this is what you do. So that kind of awareness happens in a very ad hoc, fragmented way. It's not done streamlined and done in a systematic way.
Is also one of the problems that there's a failure to recognize that children also have human rights.
Yes, that is the main problem. They are not seen as right holders. They are being seen as chattels owned by the parents, that they can be pushed around. And when they go to school, as if they are owned by the teachers and the principal. There are good teachers and good principals, but most of the time they are being beaten up and called names and emotionally abused even in school.
And just as we come to the closing part of our program, if you want to get in touch with Marini de LIVERA, it's www.sistersatlaw.org.
Also on Facebook.
And it's also on Facebook.
We have Facebook
and
page.
the telephone numbers coming up on your screen. You can also, if you miss all that, you can please send us a SMS on 0772 300 305. We'll help you to make the connection with Sisters at Law. Mrs. Livera, I have very little words to say for what you're doing in this very important aspect of our society, and I do wish you very well. And
Thank
our
you.
network is on behalf of all our viewers.
Yeah.
We're very thankful, grateful that you are carrying out this very important work.
Thank you very much.
That the children, our future, the future of this country, the children of our country have not been entirely forgotten. And I think we need to apologize to those children who have suffered and are suffering, but there is this glimmer of hope, and the Sisters at Law organization can help. So I do wish you very well.
Thank you very much.
On behalf of our network, if there's anything we can do to help you, we'd be delighted to consider. Thank you very much. And also we have several more intensive programs greater in length, because I think yours is a story that needs to be told.
Yes.
And people need to hear. I'm sure that various
Yes,
producers from our network will be getting in touch with you.
Yeah. I have lots of success stories to share with you.
Good, excellent. Thank you very much. It's been I'm much obliged that you've come on our program. Thank you, and good luck again.
My
and
pleasure.
God bless you.
Thank you.
And that's the way it was on Newsline Prime tonight. Do take care. Have a wonderful evening ahead, and remember, sistersatlaw.org. Take care, and of course, God bless.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.